think I don't feel like I have the words to properly articulate things, and I find that particularly difficult given that words are my thing. And so I'm meant to be able to, and I know that in most things in life I can fashion words to demonstrate exactly what I mean them to. And for 5 months the words have actually failed me on this.
You see pictures and videos and stuff of what the camp looks like, but the scale of it you just can't imagine.
People who were physically beaten by the police, you can see the bruises, you can see the broken arms, broken legs.
I feel absolutely sad that this is the world that I live in.
What's the point of me going there at all if I can't tell someone's story?
London calling to the faraway towns. Now war is declared and the battle come down. London calling to the underworld.
Well, it was a trip organised for about 50 social workers. So there was a delegation of 5 chosen from Dundee. And because we were part of the Social Work Action Network anyway, we went.
The opportunity to go to Calais, I can't even really remember how that kind of came up, because it wasn't clear ever like whether our whole group was going to get to go or only some people, or but it sounded like it just sort of it's completely different from any sort of placement we could get or any just an experience unlike I've ever had in my life.
I was so nervous in the car. I just didn't know what to expect. I'd seen pictures, but I just really didn't know what to expect. Was it just going to be rows upon rows of tents? Was everyone going to be really unhappy and angry? And I'm saying I'm not being led by the media, but that's the sort of images that are projected, so you can't help but maybe have a bit of trepidation when it comes to going to kind of see what it's actually going to be like.
When I was speaking to people about it, like family or people in the community, they all had very negative opinions. Like, what on earth are you going to do? Why would you go and get involved in this?
My dad was really affected by it. He desperately wants to go.
Right. Why do you think they were saying that?
Probably because I've seen a lot of the mainstream media's opinion of let's not invite these people into our country, let's not get involved, it's their problem.
And preconceptions, I think it's so difficult because when you're looking at the media and you're seeing how Calais was and still is being represented, I think I wanted just to see it for myself.
And we're all quite looking forward to sort of the 2 nights that we had in London and the conference. So it wasn't until lunchtime on the conference on the Saturday that there was a kind of like, oh fuck moment of like, this is actually happening, we are going tomorrow.
So we turned up with a convoy of police vehicles following us. Because they knew that we were going to the camp. I don't know how they knew, but they knew that we were going there, so we were followed by a huge convoy of police vehicles.
When you come under this bridge and you see the Banksy of London Calling graffiti, and then there's like a makeshift car park.
There was a lot of people stood outside the entrance of the camp, but they lived in the camp, and there was a few people really angry that we'd arrived because the police had come with us.
You've got some inhabitants of the camp who want to come and speak to you and, oh, here are you, what are you, like, there's so many of you, what are you doing here? And then there's some who are just angry, really angry at, oh, you're British, this is your government paid for that, like, 15-foot barbed wire fence.
But that was the only experience I had of people receiving us negatively. Apart from that, everywhere we went through at the camp, it was like a music festival. I hate to describe it like that.
If somebody just plonked you down and you had no idea where you were, like, and somebody went, this is a really sketchy music festival, isn't it? Then you would probably think, yeah, it is.
It made me just feel like, regardless of your situation, you can be resilient and you can be happy and you can find the good in things. And the community, I mean, the camp was pretty much segregated into where people, the countries of origin that people had come from.
Okay.
But you couldn't sense any segregation at all. There was people, I heard stories of people who were best friends who were from Iraq and Iran, who obviously in real life were supposed to not get on. But in this camp it's just people, just all sharing the experience.
My role for the day was to play football. It was a sports day going on, and I spent the rest of my day there. And I could have been playing football anywhere. It could have been down Riverside. It could have been a huge stadium, or it could have been in this wee patch of sandy grass in Calais. And it was just in the moment. And I think the guys I was playing with, it was the same for them. It was all about the game. That's all that mattered.
What else do you do? Just sit weeping about and despairing? Or do you take the opportunity to go for an art workshop, even if that art workshop is sitting on a picnic blanket in like really stony sand and with a bit of lining paper and 2 colours of paint and a couple of crayons? Yeah, I hope that if I was in that situation, I would be doing that. I would hope that I would be seeking out a mate with a guitar or drums and things, and finding little bits of joy and humanity in what's a really kind of set or just totally alien environment that people aren't meant to live in.
After the football game, I was getting ready to leave. One of the young boys asked me, he's like, "Oh, tomorrow," and I had to tell him, nah, like, not tomorrow.
That wouldn't be easy.
It wasn't easy, and I don't think he's like, "Ah, okay," and then kind of went away. And I don't think he fully grasped it, but I knew that that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, is tell him, no, I won't be back tomorrow.
So I was part of an art-based group.
Right.
So we walked through the camp, pitched up in an Afghan area of camp. I say art-based, but it was just a couple of pencils and a big roll of white paper. And we just sat down with a couple of blankets, and we were surrounded immediately, swarmed by guys. It is mostly men that were in the camp.
Okay.
Surrounded by people. It didn't feel in the slightest bit threatening, to the point, like, there was 3 or 4 females sat down at these.
You didn't feel threatened?
No, not in the
Despite
slightest.
all the stories?
Despite all the stories, despite the fact that it was a predominantly male presence, despite the fact that they were all stood around us and we were sat down, obviously welcoming people to sit down beside us.
I sat and drew silly pictures with one guy.
One day.
Mostly one guy. We were kind of in a group, and
Yeah.
but there was one guy, and I think the reason that I kind of just kind of almost instantly clicked with him is he's the absolute spit of one of my mates here, and that was really kind of really weird. And so kind of just talked to him a little bit, and we're kind of drawing. He started drawing flags, actually. He started drawing Afghani flags.
Alright, okay.
And I started drawing Scottish flags. And he was like, "That's not your flag." Yeah, it is. And he was kind of saying the Union flag.
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, I'm Scottish. This is my flag." And just having like a bit of a laugh. But then I kind of did try, because I was aware that we were kind of supposed to be compiling information for this report. So, how long have you been here? And 10 days. And it's like, a wee while later I'd said, "So when's the last time you came to talk to your family?" And he just welled up and said, it's been months.
Right.
That's the other thing that came through absolutely loud and clear. Like, everybody's little pictures that they were drawn were connected with home somehow.
So they don't want to leave home?
They don't want to leave home. And that would, like, as I was sitting there in the sand thinking it's absolutely freezing, that's what came through loud and clear. You do not try to cross a continent to start a new life. And then when you're given no direction whatsoever, you're just given a bit of paper and a couple of pens. All you do is paint pictures of home.
How does that make you feel?
Absolutely devastated. Like, because there had been so much represented
From
by
media here?
politicians, even, and that's not fair. It's so unjust to put words into people's mouths or make a massive assumption. And actually people just want to be safe, they want to live. They don't want their country to be destroyed. Britain's had a massive part in destroying most of these countries. And yet we don't turn around and take responsibility for that now. And instead we blame these people. They didn't ask for any of this.
I had actually met one guy in particular who was 16, and he had attached himself to me from the very start of the trip.
Just young boy. Oh, just
Young boy.
the idea.
And I felt an instant connection with him. He was hilarious. We had very little, we had a huge language barrier. He looked the picture of health, jumping about really, he had a cheeky face, you could just tell it. That's why I felt an instant connection to him, because it was like he was my wee brother. Like that's the sort of,
Okay,
I
yeah.
had that level of protectiveness over him as well. So he was just blathering away. He was actually taking the mick out of how big my feet were. So he attached to that.
A sense of humour.
Yeah, brilliant sense of humour. And I was thinking the whole time, oh, this guy is really resilient. Like he's obviously seen a lot. So then we went to the football field, and I said to him, "Are you going to come and play football as well?" And he was like, "Oh no, I can't. My foot's totally." In fewer words, my foot's totally knackered. I was a victim of police brutality.
He was as well.
He was. So his foot was completely knackered from whatever they'd done to him. And then he says, "Oh, and they did this to me as well." And he turned round and he had a huge scar from, I'd say, in between his shoulder blades, right up the back of his head. All his head had been shaved and everything. It was really deep, but it had loads of stitches in it. And I couldn't believe that I hadn't seen it before, because I'd been speaking to this guy for a couple of hours, and I didn't see it at all. I was looking around at all these other people that had marks and stuff, and I thought, oh, I wonder if the police have done that. And then he turned around and showed me it, but he still had this huge smile on his face, as if like it just hadn't fazed him, as if he was still as resilient as ever.
He didn't play.
No, he
couldn't play.
Couldn't play. He said, "I used to love playing football, and I can't play football now
Sure.
because of what the police have done."
It's really, really menacing. There's such a police presence just on the edge of the camp.
It's like a prison, like an open prison.
There was one guy in particular who walked with me into the camp to the spot that we were based, and he was pointing out gas canisters left, right and centre.
Gas canisters.
Gas canisters, rubber pellets, loads of evidence, like just literally littered all over the floor. There was no...
Could you see why they would be there? Any need for them to be?
No, I can't see any need why they were there.
And there was 11, I think, reported cases a day of police brutality, because most people wouldn't report it, at risk of being brutalised even further.
The police go in every single night and inflict brutality on people. There was people walking around with hospital wristbands on. One guy in particular had just come from the hospital, so he had a hospital gown still on and a stookie on his arm.
He was pointing out kind of tear gas canisters.
Why?
It's like, this is what the police do to us.
He was how old was he?
Say 13, 14? Young. He looked young.
I think that's the most hard-hitting thing that I saw. It was just when he turned around and showed me his head.
How did you respond to that?
I just said, "I'm really sorry." That's not good enough, is it?
What's not good enough?
Saying sorry. Someone just a stranger apologising to you. I don't know.
What do you want it done? Take him home as well?
Take him home as well, yeah.
How do you respond to something like that? It's not your fault that's happened.
I do not, no, but that's, as a human, it's, no other human deserves that. And I couldn't get over the thought of the police that have done this to people. They're humans as well, like they've got families that they've got to look after. I understand that they have a job to do, but on an individual level, how can you stand in front of someone and fire them with bullets or batter them to a pulp? Like how?
He's got a massive scar on the back of his head.
Yeah,
and shoulder.
that was whatever happened, there was a lot of blood, so someone has to have not stopped, or someone has to have, a policeman
Very
has to
blood.
have, yeah. The malice that's behind some of these attacks is disgusting.
I saw people in that camp who had absolutely nothing, were probably lower than what they ever thought their personal rock bottom was, in terms of emotions, finances, opportunities, fear. I think and actually they were keeping going. They were still looking out for their friends in the camp. They were still open to building new relationships, even if they were quite transient, with us and with others. And they were still fighting. they were getting tear gas shot at them every night, but they were still fighting for a better life. And I think if people at that level of awfulness, of awful existence, that I can't, even now, I can't even contemplate how I would actually be in that situation. And if they can carry on fighting, then we actually have no excuse not to carry on fighting whatsoever.
I think I'll leave it there with that last statement. Very good. Thank you very much, Rachel. Of course.
500 words are signed and sealed and passed on to an editor that blames asylum seekers for the state this country's in. Fire another cannonball, an adequately worded vitriol. Blame culture leaves its imprint when the paper's in the bin. Now the media dehumanize, victimize and criticize, fill up column inches and tell us they know best. How British values will corrupt if a barbar fence we don't put up, providing cannon fodder for a right-wing gutter press. No human is illegal, and everybody has their worth. This is no El Dorado, but it's a safer place on earth. How many bodies must be washed up on a shore before you change your mind to what you didn't think before? That old bullshit just don't cut it anymore. You gotta open up your